friends, welcome to this daily devotional video. I wanted to come to you from one of our youth rooms here at Blanc United Methodist Church. It's a special space for youth as they journey in their discipleship, as they grow through adolescence and their young adult life. We are always excited to see how youth grow. And one of the things that I wanted to do is bring you into this room to this iconic, comfy couch that it seems as though all youth rooms have, because I wanted to reminisce with you for a bit. Maybe you were part of your youth group growing up in the church. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you've seen youth groups since. I grew up in our youth group when I went to Mount Clemens First United Methodist Church, and our youth group probably had a dozen or so youth in it, and it was a combination of junior high and senior high, and so I got to start when I was in 6th grade, and my sister was in youth group with me. All my friends from church were in youth group with me. We loved youth group. Youth group was a great place to be. And it wasn't necessarily because of all the activities that we did. It was because it was a place to connect. It was a thing to do on Sunday evenings. But I also think about all the things that we didn't have at that time. And maybe you're in the same boat. You can think about all the things you didn't have. Maybe you didn't have even more than I did. But we didn't have streaming, Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or anything like that. We had internet, but it was more so for doing schoolwork than it was for doing anything social like Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. We certainly didn't have smartphones that I'm recording on right now. I didn't even have a cell phone at the time, and most didn't. So our outside distractions, our outside activities weren't as numerous as they are now. Now, for you, if you're watching this, maybe you're thinking of all the things that you also didn't have, maybe even more than me if you're older than I am. But one of the things that we know now is that a lot of those things are a part of the lives of youth now. Their schedules are different than mine or yours were. They have a lot more things competing for their attention in life. And so youth group has had to evolve. Youth ministry has had to evolve. And one of the challenges that comes with that is so often we don't want it to evolve. We use those words that we're so familiar with in the church, but we've never done it that way before. We have a set understanding of what it is that youth group is supposed to be, and that maybe youth aren't living up to their potential if they don't realize what it could be for them. We want it to be exactly like it was for us. But you see, the problem is the world isn't exactly what it was for us when we were youth. The world has changed. Things around us have changed. Some for the better, some for not. But when we reimagine what the church can be, when we reimagine what youth group can be, when we take into account all that is before us, I'm convinced that what we can discover is a youth ministry, a children's ministry, a young adult ministry that can thrive and will thrive if we begin to be willing to put the old molds away and develop something new. Why do I share this as part of a devotional today? Because this is important in our lives too. It's not just for youth. It's important that we see that today is different than yesterday, certainly different than years before. Times are different. We are different. And as we change, as the world around us changes, God remains steadfast. And God helps us to see how God's grace is still flowing through us, even as we change. You see, change is inevitable. And it's not even a bad thing. Think about this. I've used this example before. Imagine if babies didn't want to change. They would never grow. They would never live into their potential. They would always be the same. You see, we like growth. It's just sometimes we're always fighting against our instinct to grow because we like familiarity. Chip and Dean Heath, who are authors of business books, wrote about an example called The Rider and the Elephant. And they gave this example. They said, we are like riders on top of elephants, trying to steer the direction of the elephant. Now, one of the things that we know is that no matter how good a rider I may be or you may be on top of this elephant, who is going to win the decision on where to go in the end? It's the elephant. The elephant is always going to win that decision. No amount of tugging and pulling and yelling from us will ever get that elephant to move. Instead, we have to offer incentive for the elephant to move where we want it to move. We have to lay peanuts or M&Ms or whatever it is an elephant might like and encourage it to move. Maybe we need to do the same thing in our lives as we face change. Remind ourselves that in the midst of change, there is still good to be done. God is still with us. So what is it that needs to encourage us? What needs to entice us to move where God is moving us? Maybe it's a willingness to see that what is new isn't bad. What is different can be good. Embrace change. Embrace different. And my suspicion is what you'll see in the end is how good God really is. Amen.